work. My husband got me the stainless steel work surface because it cleans up so much better. All right. So can you all see how much soil I have in there? I have a good amount of soil in here, but we're going to start adding things to it. This is also why I put all of my paper in plastic, because I tend to have soil everywhere. Now, we talk about doing fall planting. So fall planting, radishes, carrots, beets, kale, lettuce. You could do any kind of green, like a collard green, like Swiss chard is beautiful because it comes in all these beautiful colors. But for the purposes of this one, we're going to start with a fall blend. Sorry, wrong one. This is a fall lettuce blend. And there seems to be a meeting here. Let me move this thing so you can see me. I don't know if you can see me or not. There we go. And everybody see this? These are 4 different kinds of lettuce. This is a fall lettuce mix that I got at North End Organic Nursery. I'm going to make a little bit of a hole here. I'm going to pop out the first one here. And if you were in my spring garden class, you'll know what I do is I tickle the roots just to make sure that they're not bound up. And then I go ahead and put them into this hole that I've put in. Now with lettuce, I make sure that I put it all the way to the crown where the leaves are coming out, and then pat it down pretty well. I'm going to do another one over in this corner. I don't think I'm going to do all 4 because I really want to add more variety here. Whoops, I guess we'll take this one first. And I'm going to put this little lettuce over here in this corner. I'm going to tease the roots. Put it right down here. Soil right up to the crown. And then I'm going to move into something new for me. My husband and I are not kale people at all, but a friend of mine made us some homemade pizza the other day, and she put kale chips on it. By kale chips, I mean just pieces of kale. And I said, wow, I've got to try kale. I hear great things about it. I've tried it before in salads. I did not like it. But this one is called scarlet kale, and it's beautiful. Look at the colors in this. It's just gorgeous. And I thought, well, even if I don't like it, I'm going to like the colors. So I'm going to tease the roots, make a little well for it. I'm going to put it in the opposite corner of my lettuce, cover it up pretty well. And the same thing with this little guy. Put him in there. And then one favorite we do have is spinach. We love, love, love spinach. So I got some beautiful spinach plants. Now, you could start spinach with seeds and things, but for purposes of this demonstration, I of course wanted to give you a real plant to look at. So this little guy, and I'm going to plop him over here in this little corner. Pull out some of his root system here and let it spread out and get comfy in his new home. And another thing I'm going to do is I found this purple ruffle basil. Now, it's really tall. It's a super tall plant. I hope you can see it all. And I absolutely loved it. I said, okay, this has got to be the start of my program. So I'm going to dig a hole right in the middle here and make it pretty deep because I want to make sure that I can get this in there and get it set up for growth. Now, the fun part about this is that we are going with early planting for fall, which is great, which means that there are still bees out there that can pollinate for us. I have done the pollination by the brush method. It is no fun. I don't like it, and I don't find it to be very natural. So I like to put my plants in when there are bees still about. And I have a ton of plants in my yard right now that the bees are just going crazy for. They're going over my raspberry plants, and I still have basil in the ground that they're going nuts over. So I have a lot of bees in my area, and I'm so happy and so thankful for them. So I'm going to give them this beautiful, beautiful basil plant. Put that right in the middle. Now, another thing I want to do, and I know you're probably looking at my cart, my plants here and going, oh my gosh, I can't learn anything from this woman. Look at these dead flowers. Well, my husband pretty much said the same thing. And I said, no, I did this on purpose. This was my seed plant. And I wanted to show you something. When you grow marigolds, they're beautiful. They look, really nice, and they come up in the spring and they're gorgeous. When they die, you pull off the area where the blossom was, open it up, and all these little pieces here are seeds. I sprinkle those around my plants. Now, bugs, even though it's going to be cold in winter soon, bugs are still out and about. Bugs love to eat plants, even in the darker months. So these seeds will keep the bugs away, hopefully. These are Mexican marigolds, and they are a beautiful little flower. But the reason I really like them is because their seeds are so prolific, and I can get so many seeds out of their used pods. So you can see there's tons of them. So I just scatter them around my plants near the crown of the plant to make sure that the bugs do not eat my plants, because these leaves are very, very tender, as you know. I mean, they're fragile. They really are. Even though they grow really well in the fall months, they are still fragile. So that is a little trick of mine, is that I do that. Now, when you're doing this and you're planting in a pot or in your yard, you want to make sure that you mulch the soil very, very well, because you want to keep the moisture in. You're not going to have sprinklers. Mine were cut off, I guess, sometime last night. So I will have to be doing these by hand from now on. If you have a good mulch, a good quality mulch, you can use, some people use bark, some people use straw. I prefer to use shredded leaves, because if you've looked around your neighborhoods lately, or maybe just in your yard, you've noticed that the leaves are coming down quickly. They are really, really popping right now. So what I do is I just gather them up, especially if the neighbors leave the leaf bag for the garbage man. I just steal those, take them home, shred them up, put them in my garden beds. But they act really well as a layer of insulation for your plants in the colder months. Now, another thing that you can do is you can use a cold frame. And I believe that's page 3 of your handout. You can see this cold frame in diagram number 3. It says it will be protected from the wind. Right now, my cold frame has the cover up. There is no, I'm going to switch this to me now. So my cold frame has the cover up, which is all glass. And my plants get the sunshine and they get the rain and anything else. But once we start getting frost, those get closed. And we want to keep them very, very well protected. So cold frames are excellent. They can be built out of scrap lumber. You can get windows like at Restore or any junkyard really. They've got windows usually all over the place, and just build a little cold frame. It's pretty easy to do, and it keeps your plants happy. It's a mini greenhouse for your little plants, and it's wonderful to be able to give them the nourishment that they need, the sunshine they need, the warmth from the mulch, and they're going to give you all the beauty and nurturing soil and plants you need. So I definitely recommend a cold frame or something like it. Now, this guy is in a pot. So what am I going to do for him? With him, I am actually going to put a tomato cage around him when it gets colder, and I'm going to wrap the tomato cage in frost cloth. Frost cloth can be found anywhere. Lowe's, Home Depot, any gardening store. I was at North End Organic, which is where I got my plants from, and they're on Chinden, and they have frost cloth and all kinds of things that you can use, but they have them year round. You don't have to get them just at springtime, which some of the garden centers just open for a short time and then they close down. So you don't have the opportunity to buy all your fall stuff that you need. So I go over there and I just grab, whatever I need. With my frost cloth, I tend to buy it in bigger rolls, because right now, I don't know about you guys, but my tomatoes have finally decided to come alive. And I don't want them to die with the colder weather that's coming up. So I will be rolling out my frost cloth and putting it on top of my tomatoes to encourage them to continue to grow. Also, if you do have tomatoes in your yard, you don't have to water them. Don't worry about them. They are going to be fine. The ones that already have tomatoes on them will actually ripen much quicker with the lack of water. I know it sounds controversial, but it's true.
Sandy,
Yeah.
may I interrupt you?
Yes.
Regarding the mulching of leaves, how do
Yeah.
you best mulch the leaves? June C is asking that question.
How do I batch mulch them?
Well, how do you mulch them? I mean,
Okay.
get them all
Right.
cut up for mulch.
Right. Okay. What I do is I put them in my backyard. I empty the bags and then I go over them with the lawnmower. And the lawnmower does a really good job of mulching them all up.
Right.
And then I use the vacuum, the dust vac, the big shop vac thing, and I vacuum them all up, and that further mulches them a bit. And then I just put them in bags and I keep adding them to things going through the season. Now, also, if you have any plants that require any kind of acid, like berries, I have blueberry plants, blackberry plants, raspberry plants, and they require acid. Pine needles are fabulous for this, and people always have tons of pine needles. So I can always grab a bag of pine needles somewhere, and I just put those on my berries in the winter, in the fall, and just let them do their thing. And it works great. I mean, it really, really does a fine job of mulching them. So that works really, really well. And like I said, you don't have to continue watering anything except this new basket that you've created, or whatever. Sorry, Alexa's talking to me. She's trying to teach my class.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Okay. So you just have to water these until they really start taking off. And then when you've got them mulched, when you've got them covered, continue to water them. When they're young, like they are right now, I will water them every day. Then in a couple of weeks, when I see them growing and looking good, I'll move to every other day. As it gets colder, it'll be less frequent watering because I don't want the roots to freeze. So at that point, I'll do probably every 3 or 4 days, and it will be a light watering at the base of the plant. You never water overhead on the leaves because that will freeze them. So you want to be very careful with how you water these. But you are able to keep them growing all year, pretty much. I mean, I have had spinach plants that have grown through the winter and regrown in the spring. So you truly can have fresh produce all year. And speaking of produce, I wanted to ask if anybody here plants garlic. Has anybody planted garlic before? No? Okay. Show you a real quick trick here.
Joyce plants garlic.
What's that?
We have a couple people that do plant garlic.
Fantastic. So you know all this. I have some garlic here. One thing you want to make sure of is that you're using organic seed garlic. It is not something you buy at the grocery store and then plant that. Those have been treated for transport and they are not predictable as far as what you're going to get. But when you use seed garlic, you just peel off the outside. Oh, look, I've got a few of them going in here. Okay. And then take a clove. This is a big one. This is called a Bulgarian. This is the first year I'm trying this one. I understand this one you can eat raw and it's very creamy and sweet. And also I got this at North End yesterday, I think it was, because their garlic is in. Okay, you want to leave the paper on. Whew, this one's a little hard. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to leave the paper on and you want to use the root side down. So pointy towards the sun, but you want to plant that down about, I usually go about my index finger, about the middle of my index finger down. I go ahead and plant that down. Now with this one, you will get scapes. I don't know if y'all have seen those and the people who planted garlic, you get these beautiful little twisty green things that look like chives in the spring. They are so good, cut up and put in salad or sauteed with vegetables. They're amazing. They taste like a very mild garlic. So I recommend doing those. And these you're going to plant in Halloween time frame. Think of garlic, vampires, all that. So it's best to do it at Halloween. They like the cooler soil and you never have to worry about them. You don't have to water them, anything. I do mulch them because I try to determine whatever is in the garden needs to be covered. And Kathy wants to know something about when it's ready.
Mhm.
Okay, when it's ready, it comes up with a flower and then it turns brown. The stalk turns brown and falls. At that point, cut it off about 2 inches above, dig underneath to get the bulb, and then take the bulb out, soil and all. I shake off a little bit of the soil, but I leave the soil around the bulb and I let it dry in the sun or in some place dry and warm for about 4 days. And then I'll start using them. Also, you can pickle them, which is great. And you can also freeze them. You can do baked garlic. I don't know if we all have tried baked garlic, but it is amazing. It's just smooth and buttery. It's fabulous. You can also freeze that. And then you have that to add to your soups and stews, which is really, really good.
Sandy,
Yes.
excuse me, June actually is making a statement that you're to use Idaho certified garlic only.
Yes.
And I've actually heard this.
Yes. And
before.
this is true. Thank you, June, for pointing that out. That's very true about onions and garlic. You can only use Idaho certified because other varieties have been known to destroy the other plants in the area. So Idaho has instituted, very smartly, I might add, they have instituted this committee who says, no, you will only use certified Idaho onions or garlic, because otherwise there can be disease spread through all the plants, not just those. So you have to be very, very careful about that.
Okay,
And yeah, I would say always go to a nursery for your garlic starts, your seed garlic, and for your onions, your spring onions or your Walla Wallas. Make sure you get them from a certified source.
Gypsy Hall has a question. Some of my garlic that is still planted from last fall is resprouting. Should I
Yes.
harvest or let it die back down for next year?
You know, I would go ahead and harvest it. I did that too, Gypsy. I let some of mine go, not intentionally. Same thing as my russet potatoes. I didn't know I had russet potatoes in the soil, and by golly, now I've got a whole crop of them. But I would say try and pull up at least one or two of those plants and really test them and see how is the flavor. Is it good? If it's good, you know, leave the other plants, let them sit there. But if it's not good, go ahead and pull that up and start with fresh seed next year. Or this year, you have time this year. You can pull some up. A little difference between soft neck, hard neck. This is a hard neck. This is my red chestnut, which I love, 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 love. And it is a hard neck. It is a hard neck garlic. It is wonderful. For one thing, it's pretty. It's got purple on it. But the cloves are bigger and they have a very nice flavor, but they don't last very long. They only last between 4 and 6 months. So these are the ones I always eat first, even though I love them all the time. I wish I could have them all year. These are the ones that are used for braiding garlic. I don't know if y'all have ever been to the Gilroy Garlic Festival over near where I was raised. These are the ones you use to braid the garlic. You pull those long stems like you've got in your yard, June, and you go ahead and braid those. And you can put them in the kitchen and just pull off cloves as you need them, because these cloves will last for 9 to 12 months. They're amazing, and they will stay viable. This year, I'm going to try and pickle some because I have quite a bit of them this year. I'm going to see how that works, and definitely going to be roasting some and freezing those because I love that flavor in soups and stews. You can, you know, do the whole ice cube tray trick where you go ahead and you roast your garlic and then you put it in a little bit of olive oil, stick it in the freezer, let it get semi-hard like you would with a pesto sauce, and then pull it out and put it in baggies and throw it in your soups and stews. So any questions? I'm done with my demonstration part and ready to take some questions if anyone has any.
Doesn't look like we have any questions currently.
Oh
They've
my.
been asking them along, and
Okay.
and actually, when you ask if anybody had planted
Mhm.
planted garlic, there were quite a few that responded. A few.
Oh, good.
But Kathy wants to know, how do you pickle your garlic?
I just got a recipe off of allrecipes.com and haven't made them yet, Kathy, but I am definitely going to make them. If anyone is interested, I can send that recipe along and you know, get it out to class members so that they can use it. I think it looks like it's really easy, and you know, if you've grown garlic, I think, you know, I think it was Gypsy who pointed out you still have garlic and it will continue growing. It's a good way to use it up and to you know, have it for later use, because there's nothing like fresh garlic. It tastes so different from the garlic you get in the store. It's like everything else that you get from your garden. It's fresh, it's beautiful, and you know what's gone into growing it. So I would be very happy to share those recipes with y'all. Okay, if you want to braid, do you wait for the stalks to dry? Yes. Yes, what you'll do is you'll take those stalks. They usually have a flower head on the top of them. What I do is I string up a clothesline and I hang them so that the garlic is hanging down and waiting the stalk. And I let them dry in my garage for probably 3 weeks. And that way they're in perfect shape for braiding. They work really, really well.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh, you can see the chat room. Okay.
Yes, from Gypsy, can we bring in basil that has flowered inside for winter to regrow? That's what I'm trying this year, Gypsy. I have this beautiful little Genovese basil plant that I just got. I love the smell of basil. I mean, I would use this for air freshener. It's fantastic. I am going to try that this year. I have my little garden room here, which is climate controlled and has 4 sides or windows. So I'm going to try it. But first of all, I have to put it in the garden in a pot for the bees to find, because they have to pollinate it. Now, that's the key thing, is they have to be pollinated. And like I said before, I have done the hand pollination. I didn't enjoy it. I don't think the plant enjoyed it. And I think it's better let nature take its course on this one. So I've got bees in the garden right now. I'm going to let them pollinate this baby once the little blooms come up. And then I'm going to bring it back into the room and try and grow it so that I have fresh basil all throughout the year. I just think there's nothing like fresh herbs for anything. I mean, thyme and everything. Yeah, oh, Sherry, you said you shouldn't let basil flower. I cut my basil back when the stems come up with the flower seeds on them, but I do it like every other plant, because when those seeds come up, the flower stem, those are all seeds. And if you cut that, what I do is I just nip off the top of those, and then I just drop them in the soil, and they'll grow next year. I won't have to replant them. These little seeds will just take off on their own. I don't have to worry about them at all. They seem to do really well. Like I said, I mulch everything in my garden. So those little seeds that are in my garden will also be mulched. And they come back every year. So I love it. Bees love it. But there's just something about having fresh basil that is just, it's decadent. I don't know if y'all have ever tried it on grilled cheese, but oh boy, you'll never go back if you try it on grilled cheese. It's great stuff. And I'm very, very anxious to try this curly ruffle one, this beautiful baby here. This one ought to be really good too.
Lorna and Paul have made a couple they've made some statements. We bought a basil plant and had fresh basil until the new year. And then they wanted to know anything on planting seeds, the care of them, and how soon to sprout are they?
Okay. Now, when you buy seeds, on the back of the packet, it should tell you how long it takes to sprout. Wait, I have a seed packet right here. It'll say days to germinate. And in this case, this is California poppy, and it's 14 to 21 days. What I do is I put them on a paper plate with a wet paper towel, cover them up with another wet paper towel, and write on the plate what they are, because I have been known to switch my plates around and not know what I've got for my seeds. Now, if they do not sprout in that 14 to 21 days, they aren't going to. They really aren't. So I would just kiss that one goodbye and move on. Now, some of them may sprout and others won't. The ones that sprout, you definitely want to keep. Take tweezers and pull out the ones that didn't sprout and throw those in the trash, because they're not going to do anything. But the other ones will sprout, and then you can put them in little seedling pots and water them and wait for the magic to happen in the spring. How about planting seed direct in soil for fall garden? Yes, you can do that. It's listed on this fall planting guide, and it shows you that you could do plant seeds outside direct sow. And we're in this area right here. And I did do direct sow with my carrots my beets, my radishes, and I think I added some Swiss chard in there too. And they are coming up, but I did them in August. So I would say refer to this chart as to which seeds you can actually put in the ground now. We're pretty much into the green, except for certain things. The cole crops, which are cabbage and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and cauliflower, that kind of thing. Those you can put seeds in the ground right now and they'll come up. Those plants are called cole crops, C-O-L-E, not C-O-L-D, which is a little bit more indicative of their true nature. They love cold weather. They love it. It gives them a really good chance to establish their root structure in the cold ground, and they'll come up in the spring just beautifully. Those you can plant with seed right now. Excuse me. Any other questions? Okay, then let me ask you all a question. What kind of classes would you like to see from AARP? Would you like to see more along this line or something else? More of this. Okay. Any specific topics? I mean, Debbie, I'm fishing here for another job of teaching and just wondering what people would like to see. Would they like to see composting? Would they like to see worm bins? Would they like to see seed saving, seed starting? Let's see, what else do we have here? I mean, it's a multitude of
Okay,
things.
June has raised beds, of course, berries and fruit trees.
Right.
My pick is the worms
Okay.
and also the composting.
Okay.
So Lauren and Paul want to know about worm gardens.
Oh, love them. Love them. Yeah, I have a worm bin and I love it. I love it. I love it. That's what went into my soil here is the worm castings. And I was telling Debbie before the class began, when I get too many worms in my bin, because they propagate really fast, when I get too many in my bin, I throw a handful of them into my gardens and they grow like crazy. The worms get big and healthy and happy, and then so do my plants, because the soil has been churned and the nutrients have been brought to the root system. So roots are very, very important to any plant, as you know. And having worms is just nature's rototiller. It's phenomenal. It is truly phenomenal. They are incredible. There's a very good book, a fun little book called Worms Eat My Garbage. And if you ever see it at a thrift store or wherever you shop for bargain books, I would say pick that one up because it's so fun. It talks about, you know, what you need to use for worms, and they are fun. They're all my pets. Okay, what was that one that I just missed?
You've missed a couple,
Oh,
but
okay.
the fruit trees and the berries and
Right.
flowering bulb plants
Oh, yeah.
and seed saving. That's one that I think people may be interested in.
Right.
And also, Lorna and Paul would like to know if there is any seed that you can plant that you could harvest in the fall, or is it pretty much that you need to buy a nursery start?
No, I just planted my radishes and carrots and beets. I had to plant more beets because my husband has decided he loves golden beets. So I just planted those probably 3 weeks ago, maybe 2 weeks ago, and they're coming up already. And I mean, you can plant those right now. Just find yourself a nice plot of fertile soil and go ahead and throw those in. I mean, I'm going to have to start thinning out my carrots pretty soon because all the seeds look like they worked. So then you have to be hard and go in and pull out the little seedlings, and it always breaks my heart to do that. But I don't know if y'all are into salads, but those little seedlings that you pull out, rinse them and eat them. They're great. They're phenomenal.
And
They-
when
they
get a
taste so
little
good.
bit- When
What
they
was
get
that?
a little bit larger, you can pickle them, and
Oh, yeah.
I pickled quite a few of them, and they
Mm.
are wonderful.
They are so good. I also do sprouts, like buckwheat sprouts, and sunflower sprouts are amazing. Oh my gosh, they're so good. You just cut them off and put the tops in your salads, your sandwiches, whatever. And then take the soil base that all the roots are in and give them to somebody's chickens. They go crazy. So those are fun. They are so much fun. And I mean, they come up in like 4 days. You know, you can have broccoli sprouts in 4 days and they taste like broccoli, even though they're tiny, tiny things. On Gypsy, no, I don't cover the carrots with frost cloth until the frost starts. Right now, they're enjoying the sun. Sprouts is a fun class. Oh, it's so much fun.
Oh, yeah. That would be a fun class.
Sprouts is fun. It really is, because I mean, I don't know if it seems like they don't have a lot of sprouts here in Idaho, but sprouts are so good for you. And like I said, they can grow in 3 or 4 days. You know, you can get a sprout like that big and just cut them off and put them in your sandwich or your salad or whatever. And they're phenomenal. I love those. And I just grow them in little containers, whatever I have that's got drainage. Well, actually no drainage for sprouts. Sprouts don't take drainage because they want their roots to be wet. But it's amazing. I mean, it's so fast, and it really is quite gratifying. You know, you just sprinkle these little seeds in and just barely put soil over the top of them. And boy, oh boy, you have lots of good things. Oh, what about the hat loom class? Oh my goodness. That's an old one, Sandy. We've talked about that before. I was going to teach people how to make hats using looms. And I don't know if anyone still has interest in that, but that's something else I've done. I did this when I was working at HP. I got a whole group of people together, and we would just sit on our lunch hours in whichever conference room wasn't being used, and make hats for the homeless. It was great. It was fun. It was good camaraderie, and had a good outcome. So yes, I'd still be willing to teach that, Sandy. I don't know if that's something that would have to be taught in person though, because people would have problems and I really wouldn't be able to take care of them over Zoom. So I think that would have to be an in-person class.
Right.
Yeah. Any other gardening questions? Does everybody know about the University of Idaho Extension classes that we have? It's right by Hawks Stadium. And that's where the master gardener class is. That's where the master composter class is. That's where master food prep is also, where you can learn to do canning and dehydrating, all that fun stuff. It's really, really wonderful. You get so much value for what you pay, and you get to, be around people who like the same things you do. So it's fun. I really recommend it. We would like to use easy loop yarn and knit together over Zoom. Ooh, we could certainly do that. That would be fun, Gypsy. That would be fun. I would love that, a little knit along. That would be great fun. I don't know if it's really a class. I don't know if AARP would let us use their Zoom connection here, but I think that would be fun. So that's what I have for you guys today. Any questions at all, please send them in and I will try and answer as many as I can. I will also send out the garlic recipes and have them forwarded to you. And if anyone else is looking for any further information on the University of Idaho information as far as classes, certifications, things like that, just let me know. I'd be happy to help.
Sandy, thank you so much. You did an excellent job.
Thank you.
Absolutely excellent. I learned so much. Thank you very much.
Yay.
And
Thank
thank all
you.
the participants for coming and getting all this wonderful information.
Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you'll join us again for next classes.
Right. And next week, there is a class on estate planning. And they also talk about trust funds. And you can still register for any of the classes that you want. But next week, if you want to get into the estate planning and trust funds, you need to register